Alright, so I have made an analysis of the short story A Mother's Fondness, written by Marion Rachel Stewart in 1973-74. And the story is about a daughter who hasn't come home, and the mother gets increasingly worried, and she tries everything to find her. The story starts in medias res, which can be seen in line 1, and the quote is, I began to worry at 5:30. And that is the mother who started to worry there. And the story is divided into two parts. One part from the mother's point of view, and one part from the view of the daughter. And a lot of different times are mentioned in the story. The mother's part, it starts at 5:30, and in the mother's part, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock are also mentioned. And the daughter's part starts right after she's finished school, and 8 o'clock is also mentioned. So this shows us that the story takes place over the course of a single day. And the story most likely takes place in the same year that it is written, in 1974, as there are no mention of futuristic technology, but there is mention of records and cars, which indicates that it takes place sometime in the 20th century. And the place that the short story takes place, it could possibly be anywhere, because there are many references to places such as the mother and the daughter's home, and the town, and the school, and Elaine's house, and different cafes, but none of the places are described in any detail, meaning that it actually could take place in any town that had any of these places. And the characters in the short story, in the mother and daughter in the short story, as well as all the other characters, are not portrayed in any certain detail, because the focus of the short story lies more on the thoughts and what is within the characters, rather than what they look like. And the relationship between the mother and the daughter is very dysfunctional. The mother thinks that the daughter is angry with her, and she believes that it's her own fault that the daughter is that way. And we can see this on line 11, page 2. And it was my fault she was as she was. Yeah. And the daughter feels that the relationship between herself and her mother is very tense, due to the fact that every conversation the mother and daughter have ends up in a discussion. And immediately afterwards, it seems as though the mother forgets everything about it. The mother wants to show the daughter that she was worried, but fears that the anger she feels and will eventually say to the daughter will be seen as anger and not as a sign of love. And therefore she stays silent. And the daughter sees the silence as a sign of anger from the mother, and therefore she believes that she doesn't care about her. And the language in the short story is very simple, and there's no use of imagery or symbolism. And that is again because the focus of the short story is on the thoughts and the relationship of the mother and the daughter. And the short story is told in a first-person view, with a first-person narrator, and it can be seen throughout the story. But I have two quotes where it is shown. In line 1, again, in the mother's part, I began to worry at 5:30, and in line 17, in the daughter's part, after school I met Caroline, and there's more to that sentence, but I just cut it off. And this shows that both the mother's and the daughter's view of the short story is in the first-person narrative. And the themes of the short story is growing up and love, because it deals with the distance that sometimes is between parents and the teenage children. And in the story, both the mother and daughter care a lot about each other, but they think that the other doesn't care about them, and therefore they choose not to show their affection. And the message of the short story, I believe, is that if you think someone is angry with you or displeased with you in any way, The message of this short story, I think, is that if anyone is angry with you or displeased with you in any way, the best thing you can do is talk to them. Not talking between anyone, but in this case between a parent and a teenage child, causes the anger and the sadness to be held within, and it only makes it worse. And as a perspective to this story, in the text, Clara's day, the reason Clara decides to take all her clothes off and then cries when the mother finds it very hilarious is most likely because Clara took all her clothes off because of her daughter, because of her mother. She clearly had a problem with her mother, or something she did, or maybe Clara had a problem with Stan, her mother's boyfriend. And instead of talking to her mother, she doesn't say anything, which just ends up making it worse for Clara.